Tyler, it does seem like as it's related to Drake Maye, nationally, people are talking about him in a different way than they did previously, where everybody seems to be seeing what we had been seeing about how good this guy could be, the potential certainly being there. So I actually wanted to start off with this. Let's do an updated rankings for the starting quarterbacks that are rookies. Where does Drake Maye rank in your mind now?
Well, Joe, I think the last time we talked, I think we did a little bit of a redraft, right? I still had Drake Maye at 3, but I had Jaden Daniels switch to number 1, Caleb Williams number 2. I am changing that again. I have Drake Maye as the number 2 quarterback right now, and I don't know how you can't, by the way that he's playing right now, considering everything else around him. The weapons aren't great, the offensive line not good, and yet he is still playing at a extremely high level. I don't want to say elite because we use that word way too much, but he is playing at a very high level for a rookie quarterback coming in under this circumstance. So right now, I'm only putting Jaden Daniels ahead of him. And so when we say that, though, you do have to kind of put into context the situations. Now, Caleb Williams came into the league as a generational type prospect, another word we use too much, but a highly touted prospect. And I don't know if he would be having the same struggles if he were in, say, Washington, or if Drake Maye was in Chicago, would he be having the ascent that he's having right now? So a lot of this is circumstantial, but for Drake Maye specifically, boy, it looks like the Patriots have found the right piece at the most important position. Now, we have questions everywhere else, but right now, I don't know how you don't feel great about the long-term future of that position with Drake Maye under center.
So I want to build off of what you just said there, because you and I have been talking all season, and this is something that I'm trying to figure out in my head, because a lot of the chatter you hear about the Patriots is obviously about the way they're struggling outside of Drake Maye, as you mentioned, but we knew going into the season that this was a bottom-tier roster talent-wise. And then on top of that, one thing we talked about was the record's going to be bad, but if Drake Maye shows some potential by the end of the season, it'll be looked at as a successful season based on the expectation coming into this year. So with that being said, I look at some of the chatter around Jerod Mayo and Alex Van Pelt and some of the anger that can be directed toward those two guys, and it just makes me wonder, do you think people are being too hard on those two, considering what the expectations were coming into the year?
Yeah, I think yes and no. I think we have to put them in 2 different buckets. Now, speaking of Jerod Mayo, I think there's been a little bit too soft in certain regards because, I think that he is someone who's kind of, again, he's a first-year head coach. We talk about Drake Maye like he's taking his first steps in the NFL. Well, Jerod Mayo is doing the same thing, too, as a head coach for the first time in his NFL life. And so there's a few rookie lumps there. I mean, we've talked about it a few times, kind of the wishy-washy answers to the media and the not clear messaging at certain times. But to me, the biggest concerns are on the field. Like last week's a great example. I don't know why Christian Gonzalez was not blanketing one of Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp. I just don't know how you don't try to eliminate at least one of those guys on every single snap. And so those are the things that concern me from a defensive-minded head coach. I'll be very curious to see if he learns from that mistake this week, going up against, again, another Miami team that has 2 elite wide receivers in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. How do they use Christian Gonzalez in that standpoint? So if he learns from that, then okay, we're seeing some progress there. If they're still playing zone and they're not having him shadow anybody, well, then we have some issues there. Now with Alex Van Pelt, I do think that we need to give him a little bit of praise. Now, is his offense, the Kyle Shanahans and one of these new age offenses that everybody loves? No, it's not prolific by any sense of the imagination, but what does he really have to work with? We're talking about a poor offensive line, poor skill position players. The one thing that I would credit him is the development of Drake Maye. As much as we talk about him really, taking it by the reins and playing well, you got to give some credit to the coaching staff bringing him along. I look early in that game last week, a lot of quick passes, a lot of layups to get him into a rhythm, but it's also negating a lot of the insufficiencies that they have on the roster. So it's kind of a mixed match answer there. There are some things that you can blame them for harshly, but also you got to give them credit there too when it's due.
Yeah, just something interesting to discuss because, again, there's two different truths, right? There's still so much that needs to be improved about this Patriots team. You have these inexperienced coaches, specifically more with Jerod Mayo just as a head coach, but at the same time, we are seeing some positives, and one thing we wanted to see was Drake Maye perform well. So let's stick with the offense. They are going up against the Dolphins defense that right now is 9th in the NFL in yards allowed per game. What's the key for the Patriots offense in this game?
Yeah, to me, I think it's going to be success on third down. Very rudimentary, but I do think that this is going to be a key function of how this game unfolds. Right now, I believe they're a 7.5 underdog against them this week, and I think that there's a chance that this could get away from them because of the potential of not succeeding on third down. You referenced Miami, a top 10 defense. They're a top 10 defense on third down, so this is going to be a tall task for them. And if this offense with Drake Maye can't stay on the field, you're going to gas out your defense against a high-flying, super fast defense of the Miami Dolphins, where there's Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Wall. You all know the names. And if all of a sudden you're on the field, if this time of possession is so slanted in favor of Miami, you're liable to get burned on explosive plays 30, 40, 50 yards down the field. They have a propensity to do that anyways. And the fact that if all of a sudden you're going to gash your defense, there's going to be some problems there. I think that, though, the Patriots do have one area of strength that could be attacked in terms of attacking this Miami defense. They're not great against tight ends. They let up, I believe, bottom 10 in the league in receptions and in targets at the tight end position this season. And so that would lean to be an Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry type of game. And if that's something that the Patriots can exploit, they have the talented players to do so. So one thing to watch there is third down and the tight ends for the Patriots specifically attacking that one weakness for this Miami defense.
Yeah, and Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, they have been bright spots for the Patriots. And Drake Maye has did a nice job finding them in the passing game. I want to stick with this Dolphins team, though, Tyler. How much are you buying the Dolphins as a possible playoff team now that Tua is back and that they've strung together a couple wins?
Yeah, I think they're going to be an interesting team to watch down the stretch. Now, I think that obviously the division's not in the cards to them. I think Buffalo is going to lock that up, if not the 1 seed after beating Kansas City last week. So we're looking at them as a potential wild card team. And you start looking at the playoff picture in the AFC. I think Los Angeles, the Chargers are getting in. I think Baltimore's getting in as either the division winner or the wild card spot. Maybe Pittsburgh, whoever doesn't win that division, I think they're taking a wild card spot. So really what we're talking about is one playoff spot between what I believe is going to be Miami and Denver. And right now, Denver has the 7th seed, and they're a game ahead in the loss column. But you look at Miami's schedule, it's one of the easiest remaining schedules in the NFL. I believe it's bottom 5 in terms of least hardest or easiest schedule, however you want to phrase it, in terms of the NFL down the stretch here. And so if Tua Tagovailoa stays healthy, which of course, major question mark, because you never know what can happen. Obviously, NFL, very violent game. And if he goes down with another head injury, then all bets are off. But if he's healthy, they have a defense, like we talked about, and the offensive skill position players to make a run here. And the other thing that I think health-wise that we need to watch out for quickly is Tyreek Hill. He's dealing with a wrist injury. They've talked about surgery in the offseason. He wants to play through it. But if something happens there, you are losing the piece of your offense. So there's kind of a house of cards here with Miami a little bit. There's a path here, certainly, to make the playoffs. But health is going to be a major factor for them down the stretch.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out for the Dolphins. And we'll see if the Patriots can beat the Dolphins in Miami. For some reason, Miami has been a house of horrors for the Patriots. It's like the Red Sox in Tampa Bay. They can't beat the Razor. They have all the trouble there. And then on the football side, we remember all those tough losses in Miami against the Dolphins. They obviously will be an underdog in this one, and they haven't beaten Tua yet. So let's see if they can do that in this matchup on Sunday. Tyler, appreciate the time as always. You can catch us writing on CBSSports.com. And WBZ will have the whole showdown for you on Sunday, starting with Patriots game day at 11:30. Also streaming on CBS News Boston. Pats and Dolphins kick off at 1. followed by the fifth quarter postgame show, all on WBZ. We'll be back with more news in your next weather forecast right after this on CBS News Boston.